right, y'all. This is episode 14 of the Football Frame of Mind podcast. We gonna conclude our AFC breakdown with the AFC North, man. But before we get started, how you doing, bro?
Oh, we're doing good, man. I'm ready to finish up this divisional talk, and then next episode we can do a wrap up of the NFL and look forward to all the other good content. But this is the best division in football, and I think it's worthy of being the last episode of this stuff.
I agree. I agree. This is a bit of a homecoming for me because obviously my team, as we've mentioned in other episodes, is the Baltimore Ravens. So uh, forgive me. And look at this guy. Forgive me if I'm a homer, but I am. But realistically, this is a great division. Has been for a very long time. Some very good players, some very good coaches, and some very good owners. Honestly, if you ask me, some really good owners in this division. But like I said, we always start off with the champion of the year prior, and that would be the Bengals, man. Eking out the Ravens by just a couple games, maybe one game or so. It's a real close race between them, and those two games that they played against each other last year were very competitive, including I think the Ravens beat them with I want to say maybe Tyler Huntley at quarterback. I want to say, but either way, it was a close game, especially the playoff game they played against each other was really close with Tyler Huntley playing at quarterback. So, but with that being said, obviously the Bengals have a plethora of talent. They have some receivers, they got some running backs, man. Their offensive line has improved. It improved mightily between their Super Bowl season a few years ago and last year. I thought their offensive line improved a lot. And defensively, man, they got some studs over there, man. I think Sam Hubbard's there. I loved him in college, but he's an awesome
Trey
runner.
Hendrickson.
Yep. Some really good players, man. So I expect them to be competitive in this division again and compete for a AFC title. I think they're in the running. I don't think they're gonna drop off too much. Like I said, they have a quarterback that is obviously a Super Bowl appearance, Super Bowl quarterback. I think when you make the Super Bowl, you're a Super Bowl quarterback. So I think they have
Mm-hmm.
one. And hey, they have a great team, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So that's one team I don't want to play because I know they can beat me in a multitude of ways. So I know I have to bring my A game every day. So what's your take on the Bengals, man?
Man, they lose a couple guys in free agency. They lose Jesse Bates, which was a really staple in their defensive secondary. They
Yes.
come back and they sign Sidney Jones. I think that's a good signing. You were
Yeah,
talking about the
yeah.
offensive. You were talking about the offensive line. They've done a lot better to protect him, but they went out and they signed Orlando Brown from the Chiefs,
Ooh, that's
and
old school. Yeah.
that's a that's a big deal. And you got to think that offense. They're still returning Joe Mixon. They lost P. Ryan to free agency. They still have Higgins. They still have Jamar Chase. They got Hayden Hurst. That defense is going to be next level. I think this division is going to be really competitive. But I think Cincinnati is obviously the favorite just off of just a playmaker and weapon standpoint. But I definitely could see at least two of these other teams making a major play to try to dethrone them since they've won it the last 2 years for sure. But I really think they, like you said, I could see them coming out of the AFC, but it's not going to be a cakewalk for them for sure.
No, not at all, man. But like I said, they got a great team, man. Like I said, Zach Taylor is a great coach, man. I love what he's done there. They had a very consistent franchise for a while. Like they have a serious drop off. Like maybe a little bit when they had a Keely Smith back in the day, and Dick LeBeau was like the head coach back in the day. That was kind of a rough time. But other than that, I don't think they've really been like really bad. They just had some playoff droughts that they needed to just to win, and I think they did. Man, they went to the Super Bowl, which takes some wins, so they fixed a little bit of things. I think they can win. They just meet some better teams going forward. Man, it's tough to beat the Rams when you have all that talent, and then the Chiefs got them, but they still were competitive in all those games. So I expect them to be competitive this year. So move forward to my team, the Baltimore Ravens. They finished second, man. A weird season to say the least because I thought we played down to the competition in a lot of games. I thought we played down to the competition, which cost us a lot of games late in the games, especially the losses against Miami for one, and then a loss against the Bills. That should have been two games we should have won last year for sure. I love the connection that Harbaugh has with Lamar Jackson, willing to trust him on fourth down. But I hate it at sometimes because not everybody's on the same page. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, although Lamar is an excellent player, excellent, and it just seems like sometimes he just loses track of it. But after watching some some highlights and some games, you can just see that some of the players around Lamar don't play up to the way he plays. And
Mm-hmm.
that could be drops, that could be missed blocks, that could be, getting tackled in an open field when you know you can make a move, things like that. And then injuries as well. So a lot has been put on Lamar's shoulders, obviously, to build this team going forward. But him getting paid now, we don't have to be cautious anymore, if you ask me. Like I think we've been being cautious with him. I think we need to just let him do his thing. I think he hasn't really had an
Agreed.
injury. Yeah, he hasn't really had an injury like a Tua or something that's like a concussion or whatever. So I think we can let him play and just do his thing, man. I think when Lamar just plays his game where he can use the run game to set up his pass and not vice versa, that's when we have the best success. Because when we try to turn him into a
Mm-hmm.
passer, he looks really bad. And that's when you lose to the Titans in the playoffs, or you lose to the Bills in the playoffs, or things like that, right? When you try to turn him into a passer rather than a runner first. So, but like I said, with that being said, I think we just need to get him some weapons. I really want Hopkins, man. I really, really want him in free agency. I think that would be an awesome weapon that he hasn't had. Somebody that can go get the ball because he does throw a very good deep ball, by the way. It's not like crazy. He's always in the 60% incompletion percentage, so it's not terrible. Like you can win with a guy at 60 rather than a guy at 55. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I think he just needs to be consistent, but I think he needs that go-to guy. Everybody in this division has a go-to guy, relatively
Mm-hmm.
speaking. I mean, I don't really know
Yeah.
Steelers' big name receiver, but I do know they got a plethora of guys that they can throw to. And I will pick
Mm-hmm.
their receivers over ours any day just because of that. But everybody
Mm-hmm.
from the Bengals to the Browns have a number one guy. I don't think Lamar really does. I mean, Odell, yeah, but how many years removed from the Odell that we know, right? So,
Yeah. And we
so
don't know how he's going to come back from the ACL either.
exactly. So, but it's a good weapon to have, and I think he's got a lot to prove. So, so we'll see how that goes. But like I said, one thing that my team has always hung their hat on is defense. And last season, defense kind of failed us a little bit in some cases because we had big leads and we let them go completely. So I think we have to get nastier. like we were. Obviously, rules have changed, so you can't be too nasty. But I think if we brought it up a notch, I really think so. And I love Raekwon Smith and Patrick Queen. I love those two. Those two are like a match made in heaven at middle linebacker because they're sideline to sideline guys. They're not big, so they're not slow either. And they can cover in space, which is good in the NFL with open field tackling. You need to be able to do that. So I think that we should make a run for the playoffs. I expect us to be a playoff team, especially with Lamar getting that big old contract and all the hoopla that caused. But I expect them to make the playoffs and be a good team, man.
Good.
So, like I said, man, I gave a long-winded answer about the Ravens. But how do you feel about the Ravens, man? I follow them, so I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think Baltimore's going to have a good year. I just think Baltimore needs to get their defense in check and get back to their roots, kind of like how you were saying. Lamar's got paid now, like you said, so we shouldn't be playing with restrictions on. We should be playing with blinders on. I think you need to open the offense up and let him just play at his pace. If he's feeling like, okay, I can roll out and I can make a throw, cool. But if he needs to improvise, if anybody's going to be able to make a good decision whether to throw or run, I'd say it would be him. He gets a lot of flack, and people say he's not an accurate passer. He doesn't have the arm strength. It's just people being haters. Like you said, he's never had true great receivers. He's kind of having like that Drew Brees syndrome for a while. Just had to work with what he had.
Yeah.
You bring in Odell, you bring in Nelson Aguilar. You're hoping Odell's going to play up to his standard, at least how he was playing with the Rams. You're hoping J.K. Dobbins is going to come back and play healthy. In a perfect world, Baltimore has a chance to win the division. Realistically, I think they're still in the same ballpark as Cincinnati. And they just need that offense to click like Lamar wants it to click and has probably been wanting it to click since he's gotten there. And you just need your defense to tighten up because obviously, I don't know if y'all brought back some of the other guys. I don't think y'all picked Marcus Peters back up, but y'all have a lot of other good guys too. And I think if the defense can tighten up, which I believe they can, and even if he can just get a little bit more pizzazz out of the offense, Baltimore, if they're not going to win the division, they're going to be right up behind Cincinnati for sure. I think they've got a really good team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they could sneak one out.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. I think a lot of people just kind of hate on Lamar, just because he's different, man. He's a different guy, and they built a different offense around him, which they don't really. You haven't seen anybody like him in a very long time. So, but I think he's vastly underrated as a passer. I do think he needs to make strides as a passer. I'm not saying that he's on Joe Burrow's level as a passer because that's not true at all. But if we're talking about quarterbacks in this division, he's way better than Kenny Pickett. So if we're going there, I don't know. I would say in some cases he's better than Deshaun Watson, and then in some cases he's not. In one case, we're talking about awards. He's an MVP guy. So, but if we're talking about passing ability, Deshaun kind of has him there because Deshaun's been a perennial 4,000-yard passer since he came into the league. So, and then the year before his last season in Houston, he was considered a top 5 quarterback. You know what I'm saying, by some people. So, he's definitely has that talent, and that's not going anywhere. And he has some weapons too. So in the hierarchy of quarterbacks in this division, he's definitely probably second or third, depending on what you're looking for. But I know we need to see that. I hate losing Calais Campbell. I thought he was a monster in the middle, just being there, just dominating that run game. So I was interested to see what we do there. But I do expect us to be a playoff team and compete for a division title because believe it or not, man, we may not beat the Bengals all the time, but those games is tough, man. Now sometimes they get out and they get on us and we just can't recover because we're not a team that plays well from behind. But if we get to leaning on them and run on them like we do, we definitely can compete. But yeah, defense is key because they can run us out of the gym. but but like I said, moving forward, man, to the Steelers, they finished third in this division last year. So my thing is consistency isn't enough, man. I think they've been consistent enough for a very long time, man. I mean, they're always in the mix. Never really out of playoff contention. Maybe 1, 2 games out. Um, but consistency isn't enough, man. Like consistency is cool, but they got too many good players to be consistent. They need to really be winners, man. I think that when you have players like a Minka Fitzpatrick, or you have a player like what's the other guy? TJ Watt. Is it TJ? Yeah.
TJ.
Yeah. So you got guys like him on defense, man. These are difference makers, dude. Like there's no reason why your defense should be playing kind of piss poor sometimes. And like I said, you really need to get those players to really play a little bit better. But my main thing is Kenny Pickett, man. That's my biggest concern for them. I don't know what kind of quarterback he is, man. I don't really know. I think everything him getting picked was, you know, sort of for Dwayne Haskins competition, but sadly we lost Dwayne Haskins, right? So now there's no competition there, unfortunately. So it's Kenny Pickett's job to lose, right? So what is your expectation on Kenny Pickett?
I think Kenny Pickett had flashes of looking pretty good last year. I think he kind of flew under the radar because he was the only quarterback taken in the first round, and I don't think anybody had real expectations. Obviously Pittsburgh's defense is kind of underachieved, but I think Kenny Pickett's going to be a good quarterback. He's got weapons. He's got a really good running back in Najee Harris. He's got George Pickens to throw the ball to. He's got Deontay Johnson to throw the ball to. I
Yeah.
think Pittsburgh's got a decent offensive line. They usually do. I think he's going to make strides. I think he's going to play well. Obviously, this division's freaking loaded. I do not see Pittsburgh winning the division. They won 9 games last year. I think their ceiling is probably going to be about 9 again.
Mm.
And if I had to take a wild guess, and this could be very the change, and we're going to get into the other team here in a few minutes, but obviously the powerhouses of the division, you got Cincinnati and you got Baltimore. So let's just go out on a limb and assume they get 1 and 2. I'm not completely sold that Pittsburgh doesn't come in last just because Cleveland's got the talent, and you're assuming that Deshaun Watson is going to return to some form of who he once was. And if that's the case, I don't know if I can see Pittsburgh being a better team than Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh will be really good. Offensively, I think they'll be really good, but I think their Achilles heel is their defense. So, I mean, if their defense can play up to their potential, they can stay in all these games. I think they'll play and they'll be in every one of these games. I just don't know if they're going to win. I don't see them winning more than 9 games. I'd probably say like 8 games will probably be their max, but I definitely see them being competitive, and I think he's going to make strides this year.
Okay. No, man. I was trying to think of who their number one guy was, and George Pickens is number one for them, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy because they've had a host of just great receivers since they became a franchise. So,
Mm-hmm.
but George Pickens is definitely number one guy, and that's like another guy that Lamar doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that
Mm-hmm.
Lamar's out here playing real good, man, without no without no receivers is pretty
It
astonishing
is pretty
if you
crazy.
ask me.
It is crazy. I agree with you. Even
So
not even being a Ravens fan, I mean, just being open minded. Yeah, that's pretty nuts that the guy's been in the
exactly.
league like 5 years and he's never had a number one guy. I mean, it's pretty nuts from and whoever your general manager is, that's a big no no.
Man, Ozzie Newsome, man. I told you, dog. Ozzie Newsome plug. He make lemon out of lemonade, man. Or
Yeah,
lemon
but
out.
still, it shouldn't have to be like that. Like,
Hey, it shouldn't, but hey, it got us 2 championships. So I'll take it. I will take it. Just don't
But,
give me Trent
but
Dilfer
this is
again,
definitely the
please.
best quarterback. But that's definitely the best quarterback y'all had the entire time. So I
Yeah,
feel like if you've got an MVP type quarterback, you should definitely at least have one receiver that you're like, yeah, that's my guy.
yeah, we ain't had a guy since Anquan.
Yeah, and Anquan was on his last leg. He was still good, but he wasn't Anquan of old.
I agree. I agree. But but yeah, man.
Yeah,
Like I
that's why I
said,
see the Steelers though.
yeah, I do. I like Kenny Pickett though, but I think out of all the quarterbacks in the division, he's not
He's at the
the
bottom of the totem pole.
yeah, he's at the bottom,
Yeah,
but he's got the
but
biggest
that's not a
name
bad
though.
thing.
No, not on a
Yeah,
team that
exactly.
good. No. Sometimes you just fly under the radar and play real good. That's how you get Pro Bowl bursts, you know what I'm saying? Just flying under the radar and playing consistently. So but yeah, but now we move to the bottom feeder, which was surprising to me. The Browns. Obviously, you know my take on the Browns. We are the Browns as the Ravens. I gotta throw that shot in there all the time. We are the Browns. I don't know what team that is, but the team in Cleveland, with Deshaun Watson has so much talent, man. Obviously, I want to say Chubb is still their running back. Um, one person that I thought was really gonna be that's gonna set their whole team off was Njoku. I thought,
He's just
man,
injuries, and he just hasn't fully lived up. The potential's there. He's a beast, but I don't know. It's
yeah,
just not
I thought
happening.
he would have been awesome, man. Especially when they had Jarvis Landry and
Odell.
Odell. I thought they were gonna be very good. I thought they were gonna have some success and ultimately win that Super Bowl they've been chasing, man, because that was like their best chance, in my opinion. But like I
Yeah,
said,
Baker was
obviously,
playing good at that point too.
yeah, obviously, they missed out on their
That
window.
didn't happen.
Yeah, they missed out on their window, and they are looking like a different team, man. So, give me your thoughts on Cleveland, man.
I think Cleveland's got a good defense. Got a lot of. I mean, obviously, you got a defense with Miles Garrett on it. I mean, you're always going to have some kind of pressure up front.
He's
Uh,
nice. I like him.
you got questionably the best back in the league with Nick Chubb, just tough, hard nosed, solid runner, run through anybody. You've got Amari Cooper. You've got David Njoku. You got a decent offensive line. The only reason this team doesn't turn around and just take the league by storm, if Deshaun Watson figures it out, if all of a sudden he wakes up and it's 2018 Houston Deshaun Watson again, the AFC's in trouble. Because, like you said, before all that crap happened, Deshaun Watson was considered to be a top 4, top 5 quarterback for
Oh,
good reason. The guy is awesome. Now, obviously, we don't need to bring in everything else up. I think we've all gotten pretty tired of hearing and talking about that.
right.
But dude, I think Cleveland could be a real dark horse. Especially, dude, he's had a whole off season now. He's had a whole off season to work with his teammates, build chemistry, try to get his mechanics back down. I don't want to be a Deshaun Watson hater. I love his game. I love what he can do with the football. I love what he can do with his legs. Uh, but we don't have a whole lot to go off of because last year he looked like a shell of himself. Now, obviously, you sit up for a whole year or so, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think more likely than not, he's going to figure it out. Maybe not to the same extent, but I think he's going to figure it out. If he struggles, Cleveland's definitely at the bottom. But if he figures it out, yeah, Cleveland could be up there competing with Baltimore for sure, without a doubt.
All right. So, like I said, the Browns, obviously, I think Deshaun Watson is probably their best quarterback they've ever had in their franchise, man. So,
Easy.
interesting to see kind of what he does, man. Interesting to see what he does moving forward. But like I said, so I think the Bengals are going to win this division because they have the most weapons. Man, that's my pick to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Who you got winning?
So I'll take, I'll take Cincinnati to win.
Mm,
I've got Baltimore running up in second. And I'm gonna take a hot take and say Pittsburgh comes in last.
Mm, okay, okay. I got like I said, I got the Bengals winning. I definitely got the Ravens finish second. I don't think there's anything, but I think the Browns are that last playoff team. I think they sneak in there. I think, in fact, if I had my way, the Bengals get in, fighting for home field advantage. Uh, then the Browns and the Ravens play in that wild card game. I think they
Mm-hmm.
play in that wild card game together. And then possibly the Ravens got to play the Bengals next. Or if they're the lower seed, they have to play the Chiefs or whatever. But either way, I think I don't think anybody wins the Super Bowl out of this division though. If I had to say, I don't think they're the representative of it. But we'll get into that another time. But I don't think the Super Bowl representative from the AFC is coming from this division as good as it is. I don't think so. I just think it's too much firepower around this AFC, man, to just because you get three teams in there don't mean you're gonna get it. but
True.
uh but yeah, so but like I said, we move on. Obviously we had a good discussion, man. Great discussion, man. Um And we move on to our top five segment, man. Obviously, we enjoy this part. It has so much great conversation and some interesting takes, man. But today's top five is the top five receivers of all time in NFL history. History of the game is obviously,
Oh, the NFL as a whole?
yeah, as a whole.
Yeah, that's not what I. Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah. It's not. I got the division.
God dang.
Oops,
Okay, but nah, man. But that's all right. That's all right, man. We
that's
gotta get
cool.
we gotta get our notes and our text messages together. But like I said, when we have when we have our list have miscommunication, it ends up being a really good list because now we definitely probably won't have the same people on our list. So,
No,
but
there's
like I
no
said,
way.
yeah, but like I said, since we got a miscommunication, I'll start on the list. That way, you can kind of see where I am and give me a critique, a fresh critique, since we really don't have the same list, right? So, right, I five again, man. I'm sorry. Sometimes I know we in the five list, but I gotta give a 5B, man. 5B to me. This is my list of top five. So not from anybody else, anything. These are players that really I feel are the top five receivers in NFL history. So 5B for me is Larry Fitzgerald. I think consistency, longevity, and actually just a straight baller. I think those three things you need in a receiver, and the fact that he really hasn't had the best quarterbacks to play definitely heightens his sense of urgency to play the game he loves, and he continued to ball regardless of who was throwing him the rock. And his numbers haven't went down. I wish he would have gave it another year or two because I really feel like he had a chance to really break.
I don't think he ever retired though. I think they just think his contract just expired and nobody picked him up.
That could
I
be the
don't think
truth
he
too.
ever fully retired.
I mean, I think he could play today. I think he could easily benefit a team today if he wanted to. But
Yeah,
I think he's just
he'd
tired,
be a
man.
good third. He'd be a good third receiver for sure.
Of course, because he doesn't drop the ball. Like I said, consistency.
Mhm.
Um, and 5A to me is Calvin Johnson, man. I believe he retired too soon. Um, and he's just a specimen, man. There wasn't another Calvin Johnson. Nobody built like that with that speed, with the ability to jump over everybody. And obviously, he had Matthew Stafford, but I mean, those two were a great marriage. That was the only thing they had at the time, and that's what really worked. So they balled out, and definitely number 5A for me. Like he definitely balled out for me. So those are my fives. Four for me is Steve Largent, man. Uh,
That's a bad whiteboard, bro.
man, look, I'm telling you, Steve Largent to me. It's obviously I could go on any way. Marvin Harrison, all these other guys that were really good. But Steve Largent to me was everything you wanted in a receiver, man. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was good at his craft, man. As far as route running, he could run all the route tree. He could be available every game. Wasn't missing them because of injury. And his numbers stack up with anybody you want to call the greatest receiver of all time, man. I mean, he's got like maybe 1,000 catches, but I know he's got 10,000 receiving yards and over 100 touchdowns because he was out there doing his thing, man. So number 4 is definitely Steve Largent, man, for them early Seahawk days, man. Seahawks legend, expansion days, man. But he was definitely the face of that franchise for years. So definitely number 4 on my list. Mm,
I have an idea where you're going. I just want to see what order you're going to be in.
mm,
I know the three guys.
I go with these 3 guys. I've been going back and forth. If you look at my paper, it has a lot of scratches between this top 3 because I've been going back and forth. But if I had to go 3, I'm going Jerry Rice, man.
Yeah, I knew you was going to do that.
I'm going Jerry Rice at 3. Because as good as great as Jerry Rice is, man, it helps when you got Steve Young and Joe Montana throwing you the ball. It helps, man. It helps being able to get the ball thrown to you anywhere you want it, and you ain't really got to break no stride. You ain't really got to do too much. Now, obviously, yeah, he's talented and he's the all-time leading receiver in everything, but I feel like if he didn't have those weapons throwing him the ball, even later in his career, because later, like I said, before we got on here, he had Richie Gannon, who was an MVP when he went to the Raiders with Tim Brown in them, and he went to the Super Bowl. But Rich Gannon was MVP. So, like I said, you got all these great quarterbacks, man, just throwing you the ball, man. Obviously, you make them look good by catching it, but it's easy to catch it when it's always thrown right to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think he's number 3. Number 2 for me is Randy Moss, man. Obviously, he could run every route in
Yeah,
the
I like where
country.
this is going.
Yep. So Randy Moss is number 2 for me. He can run every route in the route tree, man, and run it well. But it's one route that he runs best, and that's that 9, that go. And he can run that blue to the face, to the sideline, and you couldn't stop it. He's been triple teamed. I don't think you could quadruple team him, but you definitely can't double team him. It's not gonna work because you just throw it up and he catches it, man. Absolute red zone beast. Um, man, everything. Obviously, he's had great teammates that could make it easy to do one-on-one situations, man. But I think he definitely benefited from not having a lot of good quarterbacks, but just being able to just like do his thing. Athletic ability is second to none for Randy Moss, man. Easily, probably the second best receiving specimen on the list. I think Calvin Johnson and my number 1 and him probably go top 3 in receiving bodies, like having the best specimen of body and athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
But number 1 on my list is Terrell Owens, man. Uh,
Thank you.
but here's my thing. Everybody's gonna go and be like, "Oh man, he's better." Nah, man. Look, T.O. was a
Dude, T.O.
freaking
was good, bro.
specimen, bruh. Like, name some of the quarterbacks he had throwing to him. Obviously, he had Steve Young later in his career.
Jeff
Um,
Garcia,
Jeff Garcia
Donovan McNabb,
made him look like $1,000,000. Made Donovan McNabb look like $1,000,000.
Tony Romo,
Made Tony Romo look like $1,000,000.
Ryan
Let
Fitzpatrick,
Ryan Fitzpatrick got him some
Carson
money.
Palmer.
Carson Palmer, like all these receivers, all these quarterbacks, he helped turn into $1,000,000. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, he was a big part of those Eagles teams. Great pickup, by the way, for the Eagles at that time. Got them to a Super Bowl against your Patriots. But like I said, man, I think a healthy TO changes that game a little bit different. I think
Hmm.
he was something that they couldn't really defend, but I also think that TO was a specimen, man. Any route, all of them. You can't body him; he too strong. You can't
Hmm.
cover him over the middle because he's too fast.
Dude doesn't drop the ball. Dude, he
Man,
had I don't know how many games of no drops, and until I think he was with the Bills, and then he had a drop. No, it was he had so many consecutive games with a catch, and then he had one game he played against the Saints when he was with the Bills. He didn't have a catch. Just, just consistent
it's like
to the max.
I get his personality is what people talk about, but when you're
Hmm.
good and
He
you
just
know you're
goes.
good and there's nothing nobody else can do to you to stop you, like look, you're gonna be rubbed the wrong way when people aren't giving the same effort as you. Like if you work your ass off to be and look as good as he did on the football field in terms of his body, in terms of how he played, and everything. If you're not working as hard as him, I would be mad too at you. And I would be pointing fingers at you as well because you're not going as hard as I am. And I think
Hmm.
that's where it goes. I think a lot of people that have bad personalities that are number one at that particular sport are like that because people just don't work as hard as them and they can't deal with that attitude. I mean, anybody, you name them all.
I don't think it's a bad attitude. I think he's just that competitive. People just
Yeah,
don't like that.
yeah. I just think he don't like mediocre people. And his quarterback sometimes played mediocre, and sometimes his teammates played mediocre, and he didn't like it. So, like I said, he had to voice his opinion, but his play never dropped. That's for sure. So, like I said, I TO is number one in my list, man. So, what you got?
Well,
What you
I
got?
wouldn't argue with you about that. That would have been mine. But I'm just gonna go off of what I've got, and I've got the top five receivers of this division, and there's a lot
Okay.
of really good receivers with this division. So if I'm gonna start off with five as a sleeper, I got Derek Mason at five when he was with Baltimore. I thought he was a really solid guy back in those early to mid 2000s with Steve McNair and I think Kyle Bowler and guys like that. He's good. He was good wherever he went, but I think a lot of people forget about his time in Baltimore. I think most people remember when he was in Tennessee and stuff like that. But I've got Derek Mason at five.
Shit, he was our best receiver ever.
That's what I'm saying. If I go at four, I've got AJ Green when he was with the Bengals. Before the injury bug struck him and Andy Dalton were inseparable. They couldn't win a playoff game, but man, he was fun to watch. Just go up, get whatever you want him to get. You need somebody to come down with a ball at the end of the game. He's your guy. Consistent 100 catch, 1,000-yard seasons. Then he started getting the injury bug towards the end of his tenure with the Bengals. He wasn't the same, but in my book, he's top five. He's at number four.
Agreed.
At number three, I've got Hines Ward. Hines Ward, dude, one of my favorite receivers, man. So underrated.
I don't like him.
Playing in that Pittsburgh offense. Yeah, I know you don't like
I
him, but we're
don't
going to
like
talk
him.
about Ward. Hines Ward, man, just clutch, class act, great hands, fly under the radar. The dude was a walk-in bucket. Hines Ward just big key contributor to them winning those two Super Bowls in '05 and I think 2010 or 2009 or whatever it was. Very good player, Hall of Fame player, no doubt about it. I've got him at three.
Okay. Oh, definitely. Good player.
Two, I got Ocho Cinco at number two. Chad Johnson. Dude, you can't talk Bengals without talking about Chad Johnson. The dude, amazing route runner, great catching. I love his personality. He's just in your face, like, hey, dude, I'm about to show you what I'm gonna do. Great footwork, man. He was the face of that franchise for so long. When they're not gonna say they were irrelevant, but they weren't as good as like Baltimore or Pittsburgh when they had him, Carson Palmer, T.J. Houshmandzadeh, bunch of Pac-Man Jones, guys like that. Dude, Chad Johnson so underrated, and I feel like a
Gosh,
lot of people don't talk about how good he really was because honestly, I don't know if many people are going to agree, but he's probably top 10 all
yeah,
time. If you really look at his stats and what he could do, Chad
yeah.
Johnson's.
I consider him top 10. I definitely do. Definitely do. I think they had a chance to really make some noise, except when they played Pittsburgh that year and they hurt him. They hurt Carson Palmer. That was it. That was like that
Mhm.
was their best chance to win. They had everything. They had defense, they had offense, everything you wanted to do, they had it that year. And then they did that low blow on Carson Palmer, and that was it. He was never the same after that, and that team wasn't
Mhm.
either because they knew that that was their chance to get Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh was
Mhm.
down, it was getting older and everything. But that was the year. But like I said, that happens, man.
Yeah, number one, I got Antonio Brown. I
Okay.
know you probably can't stand Antonio Brown, but
No,
dude,
nah, man. Look. I love me some Antonio Brown, man. But I'll tell you my bit after you.
Antonio Brown, regardless of how crazy he is or whatever he's going through, dude, Antonio Brown's one of the greatest receivers ever. Being undersized, not projected to be anything coming out of what Central Michigan and Pittsburgh taking a flyer on him. Big Ben's not the greatest quarterback ever, but boy, he made Big Ben look like $1 million. Oh my gosh, dude! When they had Le'Veon Bell, dude, Antonio Brown would take over games single handedly. All you need to do is just throw it up. His yards after catch, he'll just catch a ball over the middle and he'll just turn nothing to something. Just, dude, people get so caught up in his personality and just all the off the field stuff. Antonio Brown's one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of cleats, regardless of his antics or whatever, dude. I mean, imagine if he never leaves Pittsburgh and they figure that out. Imagine if everybody stays. They're probably winning a couple more rings, hands down. And he's one of the main reasons why I've got Antonio Brown as number one. He's top 10 all time NFL wise for sure.
Most definitely, man. Like, look. My whole thing about Antonio Brown is just off the field overshadow what he did on the field, and that's
Mm-hmm.
never a good thing when you're talking about a great player. And like I said, T.O. had difference. He never really got in trouble off the field. His antics was on the field. So
Mm-hmm.
that separates them in terms of when you talk about them two and attitude problems, right? So Antonio Brown just became bigger than the Steelers, and you can't be bigger than the team. And when you
Mm-hmm.
become bigger than a team, that causes issues, man. Issues in the locker room, issues off the field, issues with you and your quarterback, causing people to leave, things like that. When you start becoming bigger than the team, that's when it's the issue. And as good as he was, man, that was the problem. And he's one of the best receivers that ever played this game, man. I don't know if he has 1,000 receptions, but I sure know he got like 5 seasons of 100 plus
I
catches.
put him up there, like just off of sheer talent, off just talent alone and athleticism. He's top like 3 to 5, dude. Just little to none. The way he could take over a game, he's up there with Moss. He's up there with T.O. He's up there with Jerry Rice because, dude, he's just unstoppable. If he gets hot, you're not stopping the guy. You're not. There's no
Most
damn way in
definitely.
hell.
Most definitely, man. Like I said, as we go into our closing argument, man, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers like receivers over the course of their franchise. Like, all right, so look, I I don't, Don, no, not Don, but we go back to Lynn Swan,
John Stallworth.
John Stallworth, Plexico Boris when he was young.
Before, yeah.
When he
Before he
was
went to New
young,
York,
he was
yeah.
nice. Yeah, he was nice.
Antoine
Um,
Randall.
Randall, Hines Ward, Santonio Holmes, Mike Wallace. Um,
Mm-hmm.
God damn, what is his name, dude? Oh my God, Mike Wallace, Antonio Holmes. They had a run of just good dudes, man.
Even
Gosh, I
tight
can't.
ends, they always had
Uh,
good tight ends too.
uh, Juju Smith Schuster.
Yeah.
Obviously, then you got other guys like gosh, I mentioned his name. We just said it on the show. George
Who
Pickens
you
now.
tell you? George Pickens, yeah, and Deontay Johnson, yeah.
So yeah, man. Like I said, the list of receivers that this franchise go, and these aren't really big guys. These are like little.
Some of them are undersized.
Yeah, like these are guys that are like really good. So, like I said, the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers receivers is a legendary group of guys, man. And Antonio Brown's up there, man, up there with those guys, man, in terms of being able to ball. So, but yeah, I love his game. I love the Steelers receivers, man. So, but like I said, as we go, as it's our last episode of AFC breakdowns, man. Uh, what was what was my craziest prediction as we go back?
Oh man, that's a good question. Come to think about it. Mm, mm, Probably saying that the Raiders are a playoff team.
The Raiders.
Between that and the Josh Allen conversation we had before we got on here, yeah. Between those two things, yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Look, man, I'm high on the Raiders, man. They got a lot of ifs, man. But
Well, I want to know what's your perspective then. If
on
I had to name your craziest takes, what's mine?
I wouldn't say craziest. I would say most shocking. It was your one of your top five lists. It was I think it was when you put Michael Vick top five. I didn't think you were gonna do it. I didn't think so. That shocked me.
Why you didn't think
Only,
I was gonna put Mike Vick?
only because I thought you were going to rate it based off their quarterback ability, and his ability throwing the ball wasn't as good as everybody else in that conference. But he was star power because of his, ability to run. So I didn't think you were
Mhm.
going to do that. That's why I was so excited when you said him because I knew I was going to go there, but I didn't know if you were going to give him the respect that he deserved as a player more so than
Just
a quarterback.
just what he brought to the game and how diverse he was and how much he changed everything. I feel like it would have been disrespectful not to do that.
Yeah, man. I like I said, man, and one person that I was close to putting on the list, I think you would like is Aaron Brooks, man. I love me some Aaron Brooks.
Oh
Wasn't good. He wasn't like
no.
he wasn't like great in terms of like wins and losses, but
Mm-mm.
damn it,
The
he was.
only good thing he ever did was get the Saints that first playoff win. That's the only good thing he ever did. Nobody, dude, that was one of those things that like you would get clowned as a kid if you got seen wearing an Aaron Brooks jersey. You got the shits. Like it was bad. He man, it was another one of those situations of where they tried to put him in a box. And I'm pretty sure he could have done better, but you got to look at who the head coach was, man. The Saints were kind of dysfunctional. Jim Haslett was the coach. He's the awesome defensive coordinator. If you would have probably let him be more of what he felt natural doing, they might have had more success. I think the big thing was they just tried to force him to stay in the pocket. Now, the hottest take I've ever heard about Aaron Brooks. I remember I went to the Saints do open training camp every year, so you can go and you can go watch practice. You can go hang out with people. You can get autographs, all that kind of stuff. And me and another guy went, and there was another guy or two sitting in the back of us, and this guy was on a tangent about how he thought Aaron Brooks was better than Drew Brees. And I'm like, man, it must be way too damn hot out here because there's no way we're having this conversation right now. Me and him look at each other. I'm like, either you had too much to drink or it's too hot out here, bro, because there's no conversation to be had.
No, no, no. I didn't go that far. I just thought Aaron Brooks was I thought he was pretty good, man. I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was terrible, but I didn't think he was better than Drew Brees. I'm not going that far. Like,
And look, everybody's so high on Bobby Hebert. I think Bobby Hebert was overrated. I would have said Aaron Brooks. I'm not gonna say Aaron Brooks is better than, but Aaron Brooks won a playoff game. Bobby Hebert had one of the greatest defenses in Saints history. The freaking Dome Patrol. He had like 3 Hall of Famers in the linebacking core. and you just, I mean, those were hard times, and you had to go through the 49ers, and that was tough for
Oh
them
yeah,
back then.
most definitely, most
Because there were a
definitely.
lot of times they had good teams, but they just couldn't beat the 49ers. They were too good.
Yeah, like nobody beats the 49ers, bro. They got too much shit, too much firepower, man, throughout their dynasty, which is why I put them in my top franchises because they were
Same.
just dominant for 3 decades, man. Three 70s, 80s, 90s.
Darren
It was,
Shula,
yeah, man. Most
that
definitely.
West Coast.
No, not Don Shula. No,
No,
Bill
Darren
Walsh.
Shula. Yeah, Bill Walsh. Same difference. That
Yeah.
older white guy
Hey,
coaches. Same difference.
but
Don
Shula
Shula was
was
the truth too.
nice
Yeah,
though. Shula was nice, man.
yeah.
I don't think his sons were pretty good because they didn't do good at Bama, but we're not gonna go there.
Not typically, but
We're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. But like I said, this is episode 14 of the Football Frame of Mind podcast. And we concluded our AFC breakdown, man. Don't forget to give us some engagement, man. Let us know what we missed. Where you guys think we could have added players, things like that, man. But we would love the feedback. But before we get up out of here, man, anything you gotta say?
we just want to thank all you guys for the support. Like I always say, if you like the video, like it, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Next episode, we're going to be kind of just getting into who we think MVP front runners, maybe some teams that we think have a legit shot at winning the Super Bowl. Pretty much just closing everything out to a T. And then we're going to get out of these prediction videos and stuff. We're going to just start delving into all kinds of other really cool football content. I've got a whole page of ideas. He's got a whole book full of ideas. So we have plenty of content ready to bring you guys. Just strap up and get ready for the ride, okay?
All right, most definitely couldn't have said it better myself, man. But as always, I'm Cam. If you're planning, we see y'all next time.